or sufficient investment in
No,
education.
if you're talking about education and just looking at the microcosm, and that is Quirino, aside from what comes from the national government and aside from what the priority development fund of your dad provides, I mean, how should we have more resources to ensure that the problems of classrooms, teachers, and textbooks are addressed?
Well, the problem will always be there with a growing population. There will never be enough, considering the rate of increase of our budget and the rate of increase of our population. Mahirap habulin yung demand. Now, I think what we should look into is the proper spending. The need for classrooms, textbooks, and other education materials will always be there. But I also think that there should be a fusion between technical education and the mainstream education. Because down the line, it is not only what you learn in books that matter, it's also what you practice and your skills that you have, that you can apply in real life. For example, in the States, they have shop class. This can enable our graduates from the school to learn to hone their skills on maybe pwede sila maging tubero, pwede maging karpentero. That those professions are noble and they should see that there's opportunity. Kung ikaw ay isang tubero o negosyanteng tubero, you can serve an entire barangay or an entire munisipyo. You can make a decent and comfortable living out of that skill. So I think one shining example in the Philippines is people like Ricky Reyes, who made an entire fortune, conglomerate out of his hairdressing skill, beautifying ladies, even men. So we should look into adding skill into the education system so that we give a fallback for our growing youth.
Okay, we'll continue with Congress in Action after we pause for these reminders. We'll be back. We're back with Congress in Action. Congressman Nograles, you know, I mean, you are in a company of, I mean, it's a star-studded cast, you know, 137 all in all, that includes to those who are returning. You had an orientation program and getting exposed to all these personalities like the former president, the first lady. Are you somehow awed by the fact that, I mean, it's a totally different environment with these personalities right there?
It's a very exciting Congress.
In what way do you find this?
Because it's a very dynamic Congress right now. As you said, it's 137 fresh congressmen. So they'll be bringing in a lot of ideas. They'll be bringing fresh ideas, things that we've never discussed before, probably from Congress. That's why the orientation is very good because it pinalakas ang loob ng lahat mga freshmen na kailangan magsalita ka sa Congress so that your thoughts and your ideas will be heard. Very dynamic and star-studded, and I think media has already picked their favorites, as you can see during the orientation. So I hope that all the freshmen will really make their voices heard. Not only for the district but for the country.
You know, given the fact that you have 287 congressmen here, you know, and 57 of them are party list, the competition on the floor is going to be something. You know, I'm impressed with the numbers, but over the past, I'm not impressed with the kind of attendance that is done on the committee level and on the plenary session. I mean, do you expect yourself to be there on time, 4 o'clock? And not wait for 4:30 or 5 o'clock for the quorum to be called?
I think I'm committed to doing that, and a lot of us, especially the freshman congressmen, are committed to attending the sessions and attending our committee hearings.
You know, that's the same commitment made by the second termers, and it didn't work. I mean, how different would you be in terms of,
I
you know?
think, naturally as freshmen, you're more enthusiastic. And we'll see when the session starts on July 26 and onwards after that. I think we'll see a lot of the neophytes, the freshman batch, taking an active role. And kami, mga freshmen din, we'll be pushing our colleagues also, our fellow freshmen, to stand up and speak and be active and take an active role.
You know, the 23-year history of the House, there was never a time that I found that the ratings have really been positive, except maybe early on during the Mitra speakership, and maybe early on with the Devanesha speakership from 1992 to 1994. But since then, it's been bad, it's been negative. So, I mean, how do you intend to play your role to ensure that that image will improve a bit under the incoming speaker?
That is why, with regards to that, Freddie, Dax and I, and some of the Neophyte Congress, we have formed a group that's Neophytes for Reform. And the basic agenda of this group is to improve the image of the House. And number one is to muster enough quorum on every session day. And second, of course, we will be supporting the legislative agenda of President Noy and Speaker Sandy Belmonte. And we will not be able to do and accomplish those things if we will not be physically present in the halls of Congress. So that is why we formed that group, so that we would rally all the neophytes and come and make a statement that we are ready to roll up our sleeves and work for the betterment of our country.
Aside from the attendance issue, which has always been there, I mean, year in, year out, and then every Congress, ano pa ba yung nagiging problema kung bakit ang imahe ng Kamara is not really very encouraging?
Well, in my humble opinion, ito personal ko lang na puro-puro. Sa tingin ko, the problem here lies in the information. Most often, the body of the collegiate Congress decides on an issue, and is not well explained as to the reasons why it has voted a certain way on an issue. Kasi if you think about it, and if you really look, as a body, Congress is very unpopular. Pero karamihan naman ng mga kongresista have good mandate. We won by, a lot of us won by a big margin, are very popular in the district, we are well respected in our districts. So there seems to be a problem in communicating. Kami sa Quirino, we always communicate the issues to our constituency. I think the problem, like I said, to sum it up, it lies in the explanation of events. And perhaps Winnie, as a very dynamic neophyte legislator, and many others like him, like us, can take an active role in trying to explain what's really happening, so that we can perhaps improve the image of the Congress.
You know, if that is the case, that on a in the national psyche, no, masama yung dating ng House. Pero kung bumabalik kayo sa mga constituents nyo, like your father, if he was not a good congressman, he could have not been elected for 3 terms. So, if the perception from your constituents are very positive, how do you intend to ensure na yung imahe nyo doon sa distrito nyo, collectively, you can join it together to improve the image of the House on the national psyche?
I think tama yung sinabi ni Dax, no? I think we have to take pains in explaining all of these. And which is why information dissemination, the website wherein the former Speaker Nograles put in there lahat ng projects ng ginawa ng lahat ng congressmen. You could view it in the website. You know, it's really a matter of explaining to the people that the congressmen are really one of the most hardworking government officials. It is, pag kailangan ng puyatan, nagpupuyat ang mga congressmen. Pag kailangan magdala ng mga programa, pati mga proyekto sa distrito, ginagawa yan ng congressman. So, yeah, we're well loved in our district, and I think it's a process. It's a process, and I believe that by starting on the right foot in the 15th Congress, and if we all join hands together as congressmen and really take pains, make ourselves more active in explaining all of these things, then I think we can improve the image of the House as an institution.
You know, only 2 days ago, Congressman Aaron Tanyada was pushing for a cut in your priority development fund. I think the incoming speaker, which is Congressman Feliciano Belmonte, said he does not agree. That is his personal opinion. But what is your opinion on this? Because I think the major concern of people is how every congressman identifies the program and how it is implemented.
Yeah, Freddy, I knew you will ask that. Well, I really don't have a quarrel with regard to the slashing of the budget. However, we should exhaust all means first to arrest the budget deficit and practice also austerity. Austerity should not also be confined in the House of Representatives, not only the legislative branch. It should also emanate from the executive. And also, I think it is also wise if we would just, instead of slashing the budget of the Congress in terms of the area for priority development, I think we will not be able to sustain the social contract that President Noy has envisioned, because a lot of the projects and program is now premised on the congressional funds. And Freddy, I think we would be able to arrest the budget deficit if we would be able to slash the tax credits that we have been allocating on some GOCC, and perhaps the tobacco or beer taxes we could also revive those. And I think, Freddy, there is now a parallelism between the time of Mayor Sonny Belmonte, because if you know, when Mayor Sonny Belmonte and the Quezon City Council went, we experienced budget deficit amounting to ₱1 billion. However, because of the leadership of Mayor Sonny Belmonte, we were able to turn it around. So I think we should exhaust means first to arrest the budget deficit by way of massive tax collection, remove all tax incentives, and come up with some ideas without sacrificing the benefits that would be given to our constituents. However, if that is the decision of the House, if that would be the decision of the leadership and the President, I would have no objection in it.
If it's 70 million in the current budget now, and then it's reduced to 30%, how much impact would that have in terms of the spending that will be done based on the menu?
Definitely, that will be tremendous effect. No? Maraming tatamaan yan. If I may just add to what Congressman Winnie Castelo said, I think he hit the nail on the head. Talagang kung pwedeng ma-plug yung holes to remedy the situation, it would be much better. Let us remember that ang PDAF ng congressman, if spent wisely, can be a very good tool for development. If spent wisely, if it is really given to the people, talagang malaking tulong yan sa mga constituents, sa mga Pilipino. Maybe what the administration can consider, ito ay isang unsolicited advice, is to just check on how the congressmen spend our PDAF by making sure that our PDAF goes to the people, at mabawasan ang mga hinalang korupsyon ng mga kongresista. Then, by that alone, nakatulong na po ang administrasyon sa pagdadala ng serbisyo sa mga taong bayan. Maybe that can be something they can consider instead of slashing the budget. Kasi if the PDAF is really spent wisely, it really goes to the people.
You know, your father made it a point that the expenditure or how the PDAF has been allocated and spent was put on the web.
Yes.
But then it did not go into certain specifics as to how much was spent for every project. It was just a lump sum thing. So, I mean, how do you intend to make it more transparent in a way that it becomes a line item identification of what a project has been spent for, whether they were finished or not.
Well, that's one of the adjustments that can be made. You know, the website was a very good tool for transparency in terms of the